Breast cancer is caused by many, many different factors, and this research on circadian clock is just one small piece. And it really says that these are some genes that are important in controlling metabolism, which controls what we do, and we need to take that into account as we look at the factors that impact breast cancer. We looked through the literature and tried to figure out what the best way was to answer the question we had. And the question was really about how do specific genes, circadian clock genes, influence cell growth and development. And so that's where we started from. We got interested in it actually from a project that we did with NASA, the space agency. And in that project, we noticed that we had sent some pregnant and lactating animals into space, and we noticed that we had these changes in metabolism, which we then found out through a study related to their circadian rhythm, and that started the work.
So my research involves linking the circadian system to mammary cell growth and the connection between the circadian system and a lot of different aspects of the mammary gland. Circadian rhythms are 24-hour cycles of behavior and physiology which evolved to coordinate the external cues from the environment to internal cues in your body, such as hormone levels in your blood, when you feel tired, when you feel hungry. And the primary cue that synchronizes the master clock in the brain is light. Signals from the master clock are then distributed to peripheral clocks, which are located in every single organ of the body, including the mammary gland. So whenever light enters your eye, say during a dark period or when it's supposed to be night, and disrupts that circadian rhythm, that natural flow of day and night, then it can lead to disruption of the circadian clock at the master level and also at the peripheral level. So my project looked at mouse mammary epithelial cells in culture, and what I did was I transfected these cells, so I basically silenced the expression of the mammary clock in these cells, and I looked for the effects on cell growth.
We knew that if we wanted to figure out what it did, we could do one of two things. We could either express more or silence it to figure out what its specific role was. Because it is actually rhythmic, it has a pattern, it's very hard to interpret when you overexpress it because it doesn't have the circadian pattern, or is it because it's so high, or exactly what was the cause, where if you get rid of it, it's easier to tell what its impact will be. So that's why we decided in a very, very specific way to eliminate that gene. So we used a technique that pinpoints just that gene and just stops the expression of that one gene. And one of the things we needed to do is find a way to eliminate the clock genes so that we could figure out what they did. So we used a technique that relies on short hairpin RNA, which can actually silence a gene so it can stop expression of the clock gene. So we used that, and Emily learned how to transfect those cells and silence that gene so that we could look what it did to the cells and what it did to other genes that were impacted by it.
So once we had created the cells, which expressed lower levels of the clock gene clock, then we went about the rest of the research by collecting protein samples to make sure we had actually knocked down the protein levels. We collected mRNA to analyze expression of that gene as well as other genes, such as cell cycle genes. And we also looked at the growth of the cells by measuring or counting the number of cells at each time point. We did a 9-day growth curve.
These findings are just one very, very small piece of a puzzle. The puzzle of what causes breast cancer or what causes uncontrolled growth. So this small piece said circadian rhythm is important, and having a normal circadian rhythm is important. And as college students, people don't get normal sleep patterns. Women who are working don't get normal sleep patterns. Women who are pregnant and lactating don't get normal sleep patterns. And the circadian rhythm helps to control that sleep pattern, and it gets disrupted when you disrupt your sleep. So it will probably really show that some of those things are very important to think about and to help you establish some normal sleep patterns and wake patterns during your lifetime to try to keep the circadian rhythm in control, because it seems to be an important regulator. However, sleep in and of itself isn't going to fix the problem. It's one small piece of the puzzle, and that's what's nice, that Emily's work is contributing to a much bigger puzzle of understanding how do our daily patterns affect our health.